Yes, YouTube. What's happening, YouTube? Welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are back with Project TT, and if you don't know what Project TT is this Mark II Audi TT that I bought from a scrapyard, and I've been trying to get it back on the road, and we've been doing a lot of trying in recent videos. We've gave the car a full service, which included oil filter, oil, spark plugs, cabin filter. We've also serviced the gearbox, where we've changed the oil and the filter. I've took the seats out and I've shampooed the interior. I've cleaned all the leather seats, and I've also installed a new stereo. So like I said then, we have been doing a lot of trying, and this is not the end of the road. Although we're not far away now, we've got some tyres sat in the garage and we need to get the wheels off and get them to a tyre bay. We have got a couple of mechanical lot jobs to do today. And one of them mechanical jobs starts right here under the bonnet, and starts here with this little bag of tricks. And this little bag of tricks, for you TT people and you VAD guys, you'll know it is a replacement cam follower. Now, it wasn't something that I expected to be doing on the car when I bought it, but the research I've done since owning the TT, and it's a common fault and something that can fail, so I think for my peace of mind and the future buyer's peace of mind, it's worth doing, and it was relatively inexpensive as well. But we'll cover the cost of the car and all the costs of Project CT in a later video. And something else we need to replace is at the back of the car, and it is this. This is a fuel filter. The reason we're doing the fuel filter then is, again, it wasn't something I anticipated in doing, but it was actually my uncle who messaged me, so nice one Uncle Sean, to say, why have you not replaced the fuel filter? So I said, well, you've said it now, so I need to do it. So we've got one, and that's something else we'll be tackling in this video. But first, we'll tackle the cam follower beforehand. We need to get the engine cover off and kind of go from there. Something I've never done. Watch a couple of videos on it, as you do with YouTube. Doesn't seem difficult, but everything I've said so far on this TT hasn't seemed difficult, and it took me the best part of 2 hours to refill a gearbox, so who knows. So once you've got your engine cover off, which is relatively easy, the cam follower is located in here, which I believe is your high pressure fuel pump. So we need to set this cap off and drain the fuel out. You have to take this bottom line off, and then it's a case of this bolt here and this bolt here, lift it away, and that should expose the cam follower. So it doesn't sound too difficult, but nothing ever does, so let's crack on. So then this black cap needs to come off. That's safe. And then that's a valve, so I'm going to get some blue roll, and then there you go. I love the smell of petrol in the morning. That's going to drip out a little bit, and then the next one I need to tackle is this under here. Because it's like a double bolt, I'm going to use a 17 on top to hold it in place, and then I'll crack that off, and now I should be able to undo that. So that's now disconnected. So the next thing, there's one, two, three. The high pressure fuel pump should now a bit of faffing, and there it is, it's free, it's quite tight, there's a spring, and then this is our cam follower that we're going to be replacing. Yeah, so you probably saw then, I did crack the PCV valve pipe trying to get that off. So we've ordered some new pipes, and we've ordered a PCV valve because I'm replacing the pipes, I might as well replace the valve as well, and it was relatively inexpensive, but the cost of this build is getting bigger because I'm breaking stuff, so, but anyway. So what we're going to do next is I'm going to compare our two cam followers, the one we took off, which is this one, and the one we're putting on, which is this one. So cam followers then, cam followers there are these little pieces of metal. They sit inside the high pressure proof pump and they connect to the back of the camshaft in the engine. And what happens when they fail is this top bit here gets a fully penetrates and gets a hole in it, which then causes you to potentially need a camshaft, or at worst a top end engine rebuild. So they're definitely worth replacing. I'm not sure how many miles this one has done. It's more than likely been replaced at another time in the TT's life, and I'm not doing it any harm by replacing it. So you can see then when we look at the new one is fully black on top, whereas the one I've took off has got some wear marks when you compare them side by side. So this is the new one, this is the old one. Also, when I tip them on the side, you can see the old one has got some scorch marks on the side, whereas the new one clearly doesn't. And same on the inside, although I'm not sure how well you'll see it. The old one on the inside has got a wear mark and the new one hasn't. So because this part was relatively inexpensive, and just for peace of mind, and when I come to sell the TT, I can say it's had a new cam follower, because that may be a question I get asked, and I've got proof of receipt and proof of the job being done with this video. It was worth the expense to replace this little piece of metal. All I'm going to do first, clean up the old oil. It's in there. Let that soak. Our seal sits on here, so I'll get a tip. I don't want to put the new cam follower in dry, so I've just dipped it in oil to give it a light coat of oil before we slip it in the engine, so it'll be nice and coated. All I'm going to do is slip that back in there. So that is the cam follower done. The next thing we're going to move on to then, like I said, is the fuel pump. Fuel filter, sorry. So this is our fuel filter here that we need to get off of it. See, it's in its housing. There's two connectors on this side here, and there's one on this side here, and it's in a little like mount strap. It's difficult to get under here. It's in an awkward place, but it actually doesn't look too old. But I suppose that doesn't matter because we're here and we're changing it anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is disconnect the hoses before I undo it out of its mount, and I've got plenty of blue roll to try and catch as much of the petrol that's going to come out as I can. It's actually decided to start raining and I'm getting wet, but anyhow, here we go. So I've got the first hose off. I was just trying to figure out how it all works, if I'm honest. So I'll show you how I did it on the next hose. So I apologise for the poor angles. There's not a lot I can do underneath the car. So what I did is I used a screwdriver to push in the clip as far as I could get it, and then I just used a pry tool to get it off like that. I've got a drain underneath. There we go. Fuel lines are off. Right, I'm fucking piss wet through, so I stopped filming that because it started absolutely lashing down. I was underneath the car, I just wanted to get it done. So you saw I got the hoses off. It was just a case of unscrewing the housing, old filter out, new filter in, and reconnecting all the hoses, and that was it. I'm absolutely piss wet through. And like I said, I just stopped filming because I didn't want the cameras to break. Right, YouTube, we're back. So it has been about 7 to 10 days since I actually picked the camera up. So it's this video. Probably come across a little bit in the last video. I was a bit frustrated because it started levering it down. I broke that hose, so that annoyed me. Well, I annoyed myself. But hey, we're back. I'm going to change the PCV valve now. I've actually put the hose on so I can move the car around. It's fixed, obviously, the starting and the stalling problem. And then we've got one more job to do in this video, and then it's exciting times, which I'll save for the end of the video. So let's get the bonnet up. Let's get this PCV valve in. So we've got the old one off. as you can see, it looks like, I mean, I don't know, it looks like the seal might have gone on this one possibly, because oil seems to be getting past underneath. You can see it there. It's actually getting underneath the seal. It actually wasn't on that tight, so maybe it wasn't on tight enough, I'm not sure. So I think we're doing the right thing anyway, replacing this. We've got the old one, which will unbox. We'll bang the new one on. I've already got one of our new hoses on, and I'll probably leave the other hose on already, because there is actually nothing wrong with it. They just came as a pair. So there you go then, as you can hear, the TT is up and running behind me, and it actually does sound a bit better. So maybe it was replacing, maybe it was worth breaking that hole so we replaced the PCV valve. It might be in my head, but it sounds a lot smoother. But hey, on to the next job. But before we jump on to the next job, I have done a couple of things off camera, and one of them things, the spoiler now stays down like it's meant to when the ignition's off, and that light on the button is also now gone off, so spoiler is fit. The other thing that I also done off camera is I've had 4 new tyres fitted to the car, and it was while having the wheels off the front I noticed that there is another little bit of a job that we need to do, and that other job is the brake disc. Now the brake disc on the front, the disc and pads look relatively new, but as you can see there is some surface rust on the front discs. Now when I move the car around up and down the drive, the surface rust on the back gets disturbed, but on the front it doesn't. Well, it doesn't on the front side of the disc. On the rear side of the disc it does, which says to me the calipers are okay and the pistons are moving, but the grease in the sliders on the front calipers is all dried up and needs to be re-greased. So we're going to strip down both the front brakes, re-grease everything, new copper grease while we're there, because why not, and hopefully that will fix our problem. Right, so wheel is now off. This is our disc. As you can see here, the pads look quite new and the discs don't have much of a lip on them. What I'm going to do is pop the caliper off, because I think it's just a case of the grease has dried up because it's been stood for a while. So I'll get the camera, I'll get the GoPro in here, so I won't be able to do it with this camera. We'll get a time lapse on and I'll catch up with you when I've got the caliper. So I believe my suspicions are correct, and let me show you why. If I show you this, you can see there's no evidence that these new pads, whoever's put them in, there's no evidence that they've even had copper grease on them, never mind anything else. If you look at the sliders, they've all got surface rust on them, which again means there's been no copper grease, and also that's very stiff as well. That's the slider for when you press your brake pedal. You can see in there there's all rust, there's no evidence of copper grease. But the ultimate and final test of it is if I put a set of grips on this caliper, it should go back in. So let's try that. And there you go, caliper retracted. So I'm going to grease all this back up. We're going to put general purpose grease on the sliders. I'm going to put some copper grease on the pads and the runners. Put the wheel back on. Build the caliper back up, wheel back on, and I think we've cracked it. This caliper, there's nothing wrong with it, it's not seized, it's just lack of grease. That's the side all built back up, as you've just seen. Last thing I need to do is just give the pedal a very, very gentle push and pump until it goes first. Job done. So just like the other side, you can see, again, there's no evidence that these have ever been greased. Look at the rust. So, again, with the sliders there all dry. So I'm confident then, exactly the same as the other side. We strip this down, grease it all back up. We should have the brake pads evenly, wearing evenly on each side. So, let's crack on, back to a time lapse, strip this down, clean it up, get it greased, get it back together. Yeah, let's get this car back on the everything greased up and back together. I'll get the wheel on, get the car on the floor because I can't get in the door to pump the pedal because the jack's there, and then I lightly pump the pedal till it goes firm. Lock off the brake fluid reservoir, bolts up, and then I'm just going to drive the car up and down the driveway just to make sure the pedal feels alright and to see if we get any disturbance on the surface rust on the front of the disc, because that's what made me suspect that there was an issue here. So that's it, we're done. I've done as much as I can to Project TT to try and get it back on the road, and in 2 days time, it's the big day. Today's Friday. On Monday, this car is in for its MOT. We've done a lot of work to this car. We've serviced it, we've serviced the gearbox, we've done the CV joint, I've replaced that belt, I've deep cleaned the interior, I've done a hell of a lot of work to this car, and we'll cover everything in the later video, but the next video will be MOT day. So if you're liking Project TT, make sure you press that subscribe button. There's a link in the description to the playlist of all other 6 or 7 episodes that I've done. And if you want to know if this car passes its MOT, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow me on Instagram, and also tune in to next week's video. But for now, thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.